Welcome to Copilots, the podcast where we'll watch not just the first episode of a show,
but also the second. Some shows don't have the best pilot episode, and giving it that second chance might just change your mind.
Here we take that chance for you and let you know our opinion on if a show deserves more than just one shot.
I'm Justice. Alongside me is my co-pilot Josh. Now, let's get ready for takeoff. Your in-flight entertainment this time will be the Irrational. You know what's irrational?
What?
That we've done 100 fucking
Reviews? Yeah.
for this fucking show thing.
Okay, so technically we haven't reviewed 100 different things because Star Wars was 2 episodes, and then Chris and Hunter reviewed something, and then we reviewed a show that doesn't exist. Then we reviewed 2 shows for one April Fool's Day. So, like...
Also, we've reviewed
movies.
Multiple things for Fright Flights. We've reviewed 100 shows at least.
Over 100, yeah.
Yeah.
Once you start
we've
counting...
reviewed 100 things with episodes. But yeah, so for this 100th question mark review, we will be reviewing The Irrational, which is a Peacock show? I mean, technically it's an NBC show then, right? Just the channel it shows on really matter. You can find it streaming on Peacock.
And Hulu.
Yeah, who actually has the cable package for it? You know what I mean?
Maybe more people now that you can get DirecTV just via having internet.
Yeah, but you only get so much of it, and I don't think NBC is included in there. You have to pay for it still. So I stand by my statement.
Yeah, it's an NBC show. No, actually, I was looking at it. I don't think there's any free DirecTV streaming. I think all of it is paid. It's literally just cable, but instead of having to install a satellite dish or getting somebody to come out and route wires or have a box, it's just Wi-Fi.
There's a free version with some channels and things available. It's installed on our television. You know, there's some free channels. They're like the equivalent of like Pluto TV free channels, basically. But yeah, there's some free channels on there.
Interesting. I wonder if local channels are free.
I believe there were quite a few local channels free, but it was all like news stuff.
I mean, that's fine. I was looking for news the other day and I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Specifically, I was looking for free news that wasn't like YouTube because it was the presidential election.
Oh, yeah.
But couldn't find anything on our TV, so
yeah.
DirecTV might be a solution. But yeah, The Irrational premiered in 2023, and it stars...
Detective Joe West from...
The Flash. He has an actual name, and he's done a lot of other much more iconic things than The Flash, like Rent. He's a main character in the movie Rent.
Where he also plays Detective Joe West.
But he plays our main character, Alex Mercer.
Yeah.
I think Alec Mercer?
Alec
Mercer. He's not the character from Prototype.
That's the correct game. You have it right. Yeah. They are different people.
Wouldn't it be funnier if they weren't, though?
Yeah, it would be better if they weren't.
Like, if Alec Mercer was the Prototype protagonist?
I mean, he could be. The Prototype protagonist can just consume people and become them visually, and also gain their memories. So who's to say Alec Mercer isn't Alex Mercer?
His power suite is insane, honestly.
Yeah, it's weird, man. Like, it is superpower, power fantasy of the game, but I wish the game story was better.
And the gameplay, even. Like,
yeah.
It gets pretty repetitive pretty fast.
Very, very samey, very, very quickly. And Prototype 2 doesn't really improve on it either.
That said, it's the best, like, feeling movement in a video game until we got the new Spider-Man PS4 game.
Yeah,
Spider-Man Miles Morales.
I mean, I would agree for the most part. Infamous is very similar with the way it moves. They're different games from, I believe, different companies, but they are.
Yeah, they just came out at the same time. And
But they feel so similar, too. Like, playing-wise, it's weird.
Anyways, we're not talking about video games. We're talking about The Irrational, which is, before we get into it too heavily, it is propaganda.
It is.
But it's propaganda the same way like Bones was propaganda.
Yeah.
It's propaganda through the lens of science.
And also it's more attached to the FBI, which still cops, still not great. Arguably better than any police department in the country.
Did you know the FBI doesn't have to warn you before they shoot you?
Yeah, did you know they have a much better history of warning before they shoot you?
Yeah, it's
than
really
the fucking cops?
It's really weird that the people who don't have to warn you before they shoot you have a better track record of warning you before they shoot you than the ones that have to.
Yeah, it's fucking wild.
Anyways, the title of the first episode is Pilot.
What?
I really, really appreciate when shows have the first episode be titled Pilot.
Yeah, because then you just know which one you need to watch, especially when it goes up on streaming later, and whatever streaming service fucks up the order for some reason.
It's a weird problem that doesn't happen often, but when it does...
It's super fucking annoying.
But also, I like it because it keeps our gimmick intact, and
yeah, it does.
All these shows that feel like they have to title their first episode something else,
it feels like they're spitting in my face, personally. Like, the show has been specifically, I hate that weird, dumb podcast no one listens to. I'm not going to call this first episode Pilot. It validates them too much.
You say that, and I would feel like you're just exaggerating, but we know on 2 separate occasions, creators of things we have reviewed have reached out to us and been like, hey, it's really cool that you reviewed our thing.
Yeah.
It's happened on 2 separate occasions.
Which is weird. It's weird it's happened twice.
If I had a nickel for every time it happened, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird it happened twice. Anyways, we should probably get to the show.
I mean, I guess, if you really want to. We open with a man holding a woman and a baby hostage.
No, we open on a montage of people doing everyday things and experiences, while Alex Mercer from the Prototype Games narrates over the game footage for us about how humans rely on instincts, and instincts are almost always wrong, so that leads to human error and it leads to humans acting irrationally, which can lead to a cascading series of unfortunate events, in which case has led us to this event on this day.
Where a man is holding a baby and a woman hostage.
Yes.
And the FBI are posted outside trying to work things out when Alec Mercer walks up and basically just takes control of the hostage negotiation. He does this, and the guy in charge is like, what? And then this woman who's higher up in the FBI walks up and she's like, nope, let him do it.
She waves off the guy. She's like, shut up. I called him here for a reason.
Yeah.
And so Alec is on the phone. He's on a bullhorn.
Yes.
With the guy holding the baby and woman hostage, and he's like, look, or is it a phone? Because the guy can talk back to him, or is the guy just yelling?
The guy's just yelling.
So he's like, look, I appreciate what you've done here. At this point, most people would have already found themselves dead.
But honestly, you made a great decision, especially taking that baby hostage. It was working out really well for you. The FBI are willing to work with you. But we need to know your demands.
And the guy's like, what are you, some type of hostage negotiator for the FBI? I'm not negotiating. And he's like, I don't work for law enforcement. Do you think I'm stupid?
Yeah.
They wouldn't pay me enough.
No, I work for a university. I'm a professor. I'm just here to help out. What do you want? The guy's like, I want a helicopter. Okay. I'll see what we can do about that. Anything else? And the guy's like, no, make sure I get that. So he gives it a moment, and then he gets back to me, and he's like, okay, so we've got several different options for helicopters. We've got one that's really, really fast, but we got one that can travel farther. Which one do you want?
What this scene all boils down to, and Alec will explain this to Marissa, the FBI agent that called him in here in a moment.
When he's asking these questions, she's like, what the fuck are you doing?
And the guy next to him is like, we can't give him a helicopter. The fuck do you mean? And this all ends with the guy surrendering. And after that, Marissa's like, what were you doing? Why are you going along with him? And Alec's like, it's called paradoxical persuasion.
Yes.
And it's when you give in to somebody's demands, but you keep pushing them until they have to realize they're going to reach an absurd state by following the logic that they're following.
Yeah, because in this line of questioning, he's like, okay, cool. So whichever helicopter we get you, that's fine. But then you just decide, are you going to take the baby with you or are you going to leave it here? I mean, if you don't take the baby with you, it's highly likely you get shot before you even actually get to leave. But then what are you going to do about the baby? You're going to feed it, take care of it, or are you just going to drop it off in a dumpster?
Babies can survive in a dumpster for 72 hours, depending on...
As long as it's well fed and warm enough. You'd be fine, but
That leads us to the next question. What about the pilot? You're going to have to do something with the pilot, because,
he's going to know where you went, so that's him you'll have to get rid of. And then where you're going to go from there, and the guy eventually is like, what the fuck, too much, I'm in over my head, and surrenders.
And then we get the intro, title card, title music. And by title music, I mean just a few notes. Your TV's subtitles will tell you that there's title music, but there's not really.
Because title music doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Theme songs just aren't a thing, unless you're anime.
No, it's a slight musical stinger, which I would at least hope to show up as a motif throughout the soundtrack in the show, but also never happens.
Is that one of the reasons why I still love anime?
Anime openings are fucking fantastic, and they always have been. their sheer amount of awesomeness created an entire category and genre of YouTube video that was so popular that companies got upset by it and basically shut it the fuck down.
But like TV shows in the West used to have theme songs as well.
Yeah, but they never had bangers.
I mean, that's not true.
They never had banger openings. They had banger songs, but the opening itself was never a banger.
That's fair. I was thinking like Scrubs.
Yeah, Scrubs had a great opening thing.
Adventure Time.
Yeah, but I would never say visually for the most part were any of those like super great. Adventure Time was fine, but like visually none of them were artwork.
I guess American cartoons still have opening theme songs, right? Yeah, because Bluey does.
Bluey's not American?
Yeah, you're right. My bad. Is Bluey even Western? Because isn't Australia like farther east than Japan?
The Western world implies to places where British people settled.
But,
and then established the current hegemonic dynasty that exists there.
But isn't Australia further east than Japan?
Yes.
Kind of hilarious that that's considered part of the Western world.
Yeah.
But I guess that means only cartoons have theme songs anymore.
I mean, not really. Like, I guess, but...
I mean, I guess in Law and Order, right?
Yeah, but that's a bad show. It's like the worst type of propaganda. It underplays what rights you do have and overplays the value and use of other rights you do have. It's bad. It's a bad show.
And as a lover of propaganda, I can fully agree with you. A lot of my favorite shows are propaganda, like White Collar and The Rookie and Burn Notice and Castle.
I don't think Burn Notice is propaganda, bud.
Well, not in its entirety, but there are a couple seasons when Michael was part of the, like, American spy agency.
I wouldn't call it propaganda. That's just called U.S. propaganda. It's not propaganda. It's not specifically about cops. It's propaganda. It's talking to you about how when the U.S. does all these horrible things in other countries, it's actually good because it's for the U.S. and the U.S. cares about democracy and freedom for everyone. Not about how you should trust that guy on the corner who's going to shoot your dog and break into your house and shoot you because he can. Instead, we're talking about the guy in the shadows who will break into someone else's house and kill them and their dog, all because they live in a different country.
Or perform a psyop where they convince all the people of the country that vampires are attacking and bleed people dry.
Yeah, or, destroying governments. That way people can have banana farms. Bananas.
Or staging multiple assassination attempts on leaders of other free countries.
Yeah, or staging assassination attempts on their own.
Wait, do you think the CIA killed JFK?
No. But I'm saying...
Do you think the CIA was involved in the assassination attempt on Trump?
No.
Okay, then what are you making? Well,
I was more referencing the FBI and Martin Luther King, but like...
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think the CIA was involved in JFK's assassination. Makes too much sense.
I don't give a fuck. I think at the very least the Secret Service didn't do their fucking job.
What? You mean how they were all hungover and...
That and the fact that they were like, yeah, no, you can drive through a town that we historically know doesn't actually support you or like you with no top on your car. That'll be fine.
Well, that's because it was like a parade thing and...
It was not a parade thing. It was literally just, JFK's in town, he has to drive from this airport to another airport and then leave.
That's actually hilarious. I mean, I knew it wasn't like a parade, but like it was...
yeah, he was literally just like...
President waving at the people.
Yeah, that's what it was, but it was literally just like driving through town. I believe they took it as a press opportunity because he wasn't super well liked in that area, if I remember correctly.
All I know is in the months leading up to JFK's assassination, there were at least 2 other attempts on his life.
All I know is that in the months leading up to JFK's assassination, a guy tried to stop it so many fucking times, but it happened, he kept going back and loop it because it didn't work out the way he wanted it to.
That's a true fact. That happened.
Yep. Stephen King talked to a time traveler and recorded the man's autobiography. Well, man's biography. Anyways, though, back to the actual show thing we are talking about. After we resolve the hostage thing, we cut to the next day where Alec is shown up at his actual job where he is a renowned professor of behavioral sciences at Wilton University.
Is Wilton University real?
I don't believe so.
Not me Googling Wilton University. Wilton University is a fictional university in Washington, D.C. It appears in the NBC drama series, The Irrational.
Yeah, I don't think it was real. So, when he shows up on campus, he meets up with his grad student assistant, Phoebe, who is introducing him to the new grad student assistant they will have,
Rizwan.
That's kind of it. She's like, look, I found new meat. He will help us with things.
And then we cut to him teaching a class. Not Rizwan, but Dr. Mercer.
Yes.
Teaching a class.
It's really just an introduction. He's introducing himself, and he's explaining about the scar he has on his face, because he has a massive burn scar on one side of his face.
I think, like, it's burn scars on, like, 80% of his body or something.
Is what we're told, yeah.
I think that's a lie, but...
I mean, when we see his back, it's like his entire back.
Yeah, but 80% would be, like, a lot more than just your back.
We haven't ever seen his legs.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And that's like half your body.
Fair point. Legs are a bunch of body.
Yeah, but when one of his students asks how it happens, he lies and says it happened...
Drag racing.
Because originally he just says it happened when he was young, and then he said it was drag racing. We shortly learn after that he lied. Apparently, he actively always lies when people ask, partially because he enjoys it, but also because he doesn't entirely remember everything leading up to the incident. He is working on remembering it, but he doesn't actively remember it as of right now.
Nope. But after this class, and after he explains to Rizwan that he lied to the class, he gets a phone call from the mayor.
Who is like, hey, I have a police case I want you to help out on. You see, there was a young woman named Jasmine? I don't remember.
It's Jasmine.
Jasmine, who was murdered, and, like, suspect, I don't think they did it. The suspect's name is Dylan.
And he is the son of a senator who I'm friends with.
And Alec was immediately like, really? I don't want to get involved in the politics of this, and also, are you sure this kid didn't do it? Like, I'm not just gonna be like, oh, he didn't do it and try to prove that. I'm going to look at the case and find out what actually happened if I do this.
And she's like, yeah, that's totally fine. I just need to know one way or another if he did it or not. Also, this is going to make me sound so stupid, and you're going to love it so much. I intellectually was aware that Washington, D.C. had a mayor, right? Like, it's something that if you ask me, like, hey, does Washington, D.C. have a mayor? I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah.
I've never given thought to the idea of Washington, D.C. having a mayor because, like...
It's the president. The president is also the mayor of Washington, D.C. Has to handle all of the basic mayoral duties. Actually, you know what? I think we should make the vice president the natural mayor, because the vice president has, like, no actual duties.
That's not true. They're the tiebreaker in Congress.
That's like it. The vice president has so
and maybe
little...
the tiebreaker in Senate? I don't remember.
No, I think it's just in Congress. That's like the one power they have. Other than that, they're just waiting for the president to die. That is their job. And then occasionally, if the president's too busy, they get to go be the president's stand-in.
I was going to say, they also...
Not that they have any power to do anything when they're there. They're just like, the president can't see you right now. Please take a seat here, and I'll see if he's back in his office later. They are a fancy secretary.
I was going to say, they also, like, do public eye stuff. Like, they go out and do, like, stuff in the name of the president.
Yeah. Literally,
it's like they're the president's champion, Justice.
No, honestly, reads more from me as, we gotta find something for them to do for 4 years.
You know, vice president would actually be a much more interesting role if it was the president's champion.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Because then you could demand trial by combat.
Yeah.
Although, that leads me to a sentence that the podcast says I can't say on the podcast.
I mean, you could. We'd probably get a few more listeners. They'd be Secret Service, but you could say it.
I'm not going to worry about it.
You don't want to have to live the cracked article experience and explain humor to Secret Service agents?
No, because it's not entirely humor. I mean, it's funny, but it's not like...
pure humor?
Like...
Especially about people who are no longer in office? Though arguably, not in office yet, so technically you shouldn't have to worry about the Secret Service.
I don't think that's how that works.
Technically, it's not in the remit of their duty yet. I'm just saying. Anyways, so as she's talking to Alex, she's like, look, I really don't think he did it. I've known him since he was a kid. Yes, he's going through a rough patch since he's been discharged from the Marines, and like
he has a drinking problem, but he isn't a killer. Like,
and then when she mentions the discharge, Alex asks if it was honorable or dishonorable. She says it was honorable.
Mm-hmm. Honorable or less than honorable. This show never says dishonorable discharge.
Yeah.
Because it comes up in multiple episodes.
And technically the term isn't dishonorable discharge. It's less than honorable discharge. Let's be clear. It means the same thing. It's just more words.
No, because dishonorable implies dishonor. Less than honorable just implies less honor.
Honorable implies there's honor in the U.S. military and its structure. I will say people working in it probably do have honor for things, but I don't believe in an honor in the U.S. fucking military institute, like, as a structure. I
think that a lot of the same ways that the current policing system in the United States drums out people who would actually be good for, like, the role. Once you get far enough in the military drums you out if you're too good of a person. Yeah. In general.
That's what I mean. I don't think the militaristic structure of the U.S. is an honorable structure.
Like, I'm sure there are good people in the military and even like higher ranks in the military.
That's why I took the time to, like, correct myself there.
But
I don't think as a whole the militaristic structure is honorable.
That said, I would trust the military way before I trust
definitely
the Los Angeles Police Department or the New York Police Department. You know, the second and third largest standing militaries in America.
Yeah.
I think also both are in, like, the top 10 largest militaries in the world.
I believe so. Along with some of the best armed as well. Not just size, but also monetary value put into it. But then we have Alec meeting up with the officers working on the case, and he sits in on Dylan's interrogation and finds out that Dylan's fired all of his lawyers because he had a fuck ton of them because his parent is a senator. We don't know which one, but his parent is a senator. But Dylan's apparently fired them all and is willing to make a confession to murder, which concerns Alec even more when he realizes Dylan doesn't recall anything. He's just like, I guess I got drunk and blacked out, and I don't know, I murdered her. I don't know what the fuck I did.
Specifically, Dylan has very strong memory up until the AA meeting that he went to the night that his ex-girlfriend Jasmine died. After that, whenever he's pressed for details, he'll say, I don't know, it just escalated from there.
Yeah, he's like, they did get into a bit of an argument.
I guess it just escalated.
Yeah, he knows he blocked out. He has no idea what happened with the gun, and he just knows when he woke up, he had blood on his shirt, and when he went back to Jasmine's place, she was dead.
But it's very specifically that he's using the same phrase over and over again. It's very specific that he's using the same phrase over and over again, though, because that leads Alec to believe that he's innocent.
That and the fact that when they're talking about the gun and Alec asks him what gun he used, Dylan has no memory of what type of gun it was, and he's like, that seems odd for a trained military officer to not know the type of gun they were using.
I think that's military glazing, honestly.
Oh yeah, I would agree.
I wouldn't expect any...
I would expect them to know, the name of, their main service weapon, but, if you're not using a service weapon,
Yeah, I'm not trying to be a dick, but that was this show just doing a little bit of military glaze, because it's this soldier who was just, as far as we know, an average soldier.
Must know all guns.
He knows all the handguns.
Mm-hmm.
You can't see it, but I'm doing a jerk-off motion right now, because that's what this show was doing to the military.
Yeah, but after this talk with Dylan, Alec goes to the crime scene, where he meets District Attorney Elise Bowen, who takes him to the scene, and she's like, look, it's clear cut, it's pretty obvious. They got into an altercation, Dylan pulled a gun, shot her, and he's like, I really think you should look more at the kid's confession. And she's like, he confessed. And while they're there, Alec notices a 5-year sobriety chip.
Yeah, there's a 5-year sobriety chip on the floor, and that's going to lead us to the more investigative side of this episode.
And he also learns here 2 more important facts. Dylan and Jasmine met at AA, and that Jasmine was a social media influencer.
Yeah, specifically she was a makeup...
a makeup TikToker.
YouTuber.
I mean, with the way they talk about it, it sounds more like she was a TikToker.
The video we see that is an example of one of her videos is in a YouTube style player.
Okay.
It's not YouTube because Google is litigious.
What? No.
But it's in a YouTube style, with the red buttons. And
he also finds a tube of her lipstick that she was using, which is how he discovers it. I mentioned that because that one tube of lipstick is important for later.
Well, it's in that video too that she
that
they watched. It's her last video that she didn't upload because it was the one she was working on the night she was murdered. It talks about the lipstick that she's promoting.
Yeah. So later that night, Alec goes home, which we find out he is living at an apartment with his sister, and we learn that he's doing that because he and his wife recently got divorced. And his wife, who happens to be
Marissa, the FBI agent.
Yeah.
So
he's staying with his sister, and he's like, I'm going to get her to help. But which he does by gaslighting her into believing that she got kidnapped in a mall. Almost kidnapped in a mall.
Just to be clear, he's not gaslighting his ex-wife into helping.
Yeah, I got you. Ambiguity.
The her was ambiguous. He's gaslighting his sister into thinking that when she was a child, she got lost in the mall.
And almost kidnapped.
Because he's implanting false memories.
He's proving to her, someone who's not involved in the case at all, that human memory is fallible. And she's like, what the fuck? Why would you do that? And he's like, making a point.
I just really enjoyed that for the rest of the episode. She's like, no, but really? What did I not Yeah.
To which his sister's kind of seems to be like, fuck it, fine. And then steers the conversation to Alec and Marissa. And Alec's like, I don't know, we're getting closer. I think we might be on the path to repairing things. And, she's talking about it more, and he never explicitly we're definitely getting back together, it's gonna be great. He's like, we're getting along better, but after running this little experiment on Kylie, it's not an experiment. It's not a good experiment.
It's not an experiment. It's an example, honestly, because what he's doing there is a larger experiment that has been done about implanting false memories into people about them being lost as a child. It's very easy to create childhood memories in people.
Oh yeah,
especially because a lot of our childhood memories are blurry, anyways.
Do you know how many things I've lied to my siblings about that they now think have happened that I've explained happened as we were children?
Don't do this to me.
So many. so many of them.
Did you do this with the Mewtwo last night? Because I swear to God, I've never seen the
No,
movie.
that one was real.
I've never seen Mewtwo Strikes Back outside of theaters.
You did.
No,
You really did.
And even if I did, I've never seen that version of the movie.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because that didn't have the in part. But no, I was joking. I haven't done that. At least not that I'm aware of. It is possible I misremember something and cause other people to misremember. That is a thing that occurs. But I've never actively done that.
But this whole thing with Kylie does get Alec to replicate it on a larger scale.
With his students.
Ran by his PhD students. That's what they are.
They're grad students, so yeah.
Grad students, yeah.
His grad student assistants, where they just run a basic, he's teaching a class, then someone runs in, robs someone, and then leaves. So they're like, what were they wearing? And it was like, that stuff, if I remember correctly.
I don't think that's this one. I think this is the one with the shopping.
Oh, yeah.
Where he says, hey, did you notice when you were pushing that shopping cart down the hall, you hit an expensive piece of lab equipment and you did damage to it?
Yeah.
And like a bunch of students are like, oh, I don't remember doing that, or I did remember doing that. Or in one case, one student's like, yeah, but like, who leaves expensive lab equipment just sitting in the hallway? It's your fault.
Yeah. So then he has a lunch planned with his sister, misses it. She shows up. He's reading a article about a man named Wes who's bombed a bunch of people, who is now up for parole.
Yeah. He got distracted with this Wes Banning article.
Yeah.
Wes Banning was the guy who bombed a church, which is how he actually got his scars.
Yeah. The guy was convicted for 2 counts of federal hate crimes, possession of explosives, and building a bomb.
That led to the death of 13 and injuring 1.
He's the one. Was Alec, yeah.
But he missed his lunch date with Kylie, so she brought the food to him, and then they discussed Wes Banning.
Yeah, because he was never convicted of the murders, because the witness couldn't remember the events. The witness being Alec, which is why Alec's working so hard to try to accurately and truthfully remember what happened that night. So as they're talking, he has a bit of a flashback, which leads him to a brain blast, aka Jimmy Neutron style, and he calls Rizwan, and he and Rizwan go to attend an AA meeting, hoping that they can learn more about Dylan and Jasmine. And then there he lies and breaks the entire trust and like social etiquette of how an AA meeting works, and possibly does irreparable harm to this AA meeting's like social dynamic.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, as someone involved in psychology, he should know this is probably a line he shouldn't cross.
But yeah, brain blast he has is that it involves how when people say names, it makes people more attentive.
Yes.
Like if I was to say a name you know, and we were all just like hanging out in a big room, like 30, 40 people, and I was like to start being like, Justice told me this thing the other day, you'd be more likely to hear me say your name than you would if somebody was just like, he said this, da-da-da.
Yeah.
Like, your brain is tuned to like pick up on certain words and key phrases just because it makes socializing easier.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those key words is like names of people you recognize or your own name.
Yeah, so they go there, and honestly, the only person they really talk to who seems to possibly have any possible information is the guy in charge of the meeting, who was also Dylan's sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
And as they're trying to get to talk to him more, he suddenly gets a call, not the guy, Alec gets a call from the lead detective on the case with new information about a woman who was found breaking into the crime scene, so they go to handle that.
And it's this lady named Layla. She's a rival beauty influencer, and sorry, we don't know she's a rival beauty influencer yet.
You know, at first she's like, I just wanted a piece of like something of hers because like she was really important and like I really valued her and I loved her videos and like she was an inspiration.
But no, Layla's actually a rival beauty influencer. We find this out because the two lipsticks she's claiming she's stealing from the crime scene that was Jasmine's is not the brand Jasmine uses, and Alec recognizes that. He's like, yeah, so you're lying about who you are?
Yeah. Turns out Layla was pissed at Jasmine because Jasmine outed her for like the products she used was being tested on animals, despite the fact that she was saying they were cruelty free and everything. So then Layla's like, yeah, I was angry. I wrote a threatening message to Jasmine. I was trying to go in, get rid of it, you know, that way I wouldn't be seen as a suspect. So they check out her alibi, all seems to shake out. And so the FBI are like, okay, we're gonna charge this Integers kid instead then.
Then Alec decides to follow up on that sobriety chip because he's like, man, something's not adding up. So
Jasmine wasn't sober for 5 years. He learned that at the meeting.
Yeah.
He also learned that Dylan definitely wasn't sober for 5 years.
So he heads to another meeting or back to the same meeting. It's unclear. Yeah. I think it's a different meeting on a different day because on the first meeting he shared that he got his scars by getting drunk and falling onto an oven or something.
Yeah.
And in this one, he's like, so I lied to you all. I was actually the surviving victim of the West Banning bombing. I just don't like talking about it because I can't actually remember, and I feel guilty about him potentially going free because I wasn't able to put him away.
Yeah.
After the meeting, he's talking to different people at the meeting, asking about if Dylan had a 5-year chip. And the guy he's asking is like, oh no, the only person that would have had a chip that long. He doesn't actually directly ask if Dylan had a 5-year chip. He asks the guy if he has a 5-year, if he's been sober for 5 years. And the guy's like, Oh no, the only person here that's been sober that long is our host, who was Dylan's sponsor. I'm forgetting the man's name.
I mean, there was a point where he wanted to get the fingerprints from the sobriety chip because he asked Marissa about it. He visits her house, talks to her, and then he confesses that part of the reason why he's involved so much in this Dylan case is that they're both definitely suffering from trauma. He says they both have survivor guilt. So then he and Marissa talk about Wes Banning's parole, and she's like, hey, you should see a therapist, and he's like, nah, I'm fine.
Yeah, we learn here that he met
Marissa because of that case, because she was a detective on it.
Yep. So, as they talk, Marissa gets a message that the police have found a new lead via Jasmine's laptop.
Mm-hmm. Which they have found a video on where she's talking about someone from her AA group stalking her. Apparently, the guy hit on her a few times. She tried to turn him down. And then before she could say who it was, there's a knock at the door. Video ends.
The police assume it's Dylan. She's like, that's why I left the group. Which, I mean, the police already thought she left that AA group because of Dylan, so, like, confirmation bias.
Yeah. So, despite that, Alec's like, I'm going to keep working on this, so he's still looking for more stuff. He's talking to Dylan, trying to get Dylan to not plead guilty, and so at that point, he does get Dylan to confirm that there was definitely someone that Jasmine was having issues with, but he apparently never got to really talk to her about who it was. He's just like, no, there definitely was someone, and then this is where he goes to a second meeting.
That's my bad. He goes to the meeting, is honest about how he actually got his scars, talks to a guy, asks if the guy has a 5-year chip, finds out that it's only Dylan's
sponsor, Ryan.
Ryan has the 5-year chip in this group.
To which Alec then pushes things, basically all but confirming to Ryan himself that Alec knows it was Ryan.
Yeah, he follows Ryan out after the meeting and talks to Ryan out by their cars.
So Ryan puts a gun up to him, puts him in a car. He's like, okay, we're going to go settle this somehow. To which, to loop back around, Alec now uses paradoxical persuasion to get Ryan to stop.
And confess to the murder.
Yes.
Ryan breaks down, claiming he didn't mean to stalk or kill Jasmine, but that, she just wouldn't give him the time of day.
Yeah.
And that he's a good guy.
Yeah. He went to go visit her, and she got scared and pulled a gun on him, so he overpowered her and killed her with her own gun. And then he was like, then he called Dylan, drugged him, made him think he blacked out, and then framed his own sponsor?
Yeah. Well, it's not just that, but
murder.
It goes back to what I was saying about it, Dylan, whenever Dylan was pressed for information, I don't know, it just escalated from there.
These are the things that Ryan was telling him must have happened.
It just escalated from there. There.
Because he got Dylan drugged and then was acting as if Dylan had been talking to him about this issue.
Yeah. When you're in a state that is susceptible to suggestion, the wording used matters a lot.
Yes. So then Ryan gets arrested, Dylan gets freed, Dylan stops by Alec's office at Wilton to thank him, and is like, I really appreciate it. You believed in me even when I didn't. And Alec's like, yeah, I'm happy that you're not being arrested for this, or charged with this. You should really see a therapist about your trauma. And Dylan's like, I think I'm going to go back to school, though.
Yep.
And then that's it for the case. We end this episode with Wes and Marissa.
Well, we have two big things still.
Yeah.
Alec gets an offer from Elise to work with the department on cases going forward.
Marissa?
No.
Oh, Elise, yeah.
The DA.
Yeah.
The district attorney. And then his sister, who's in the room with him, jokes that Elise might have a crush on him.
And he's like, what? Nah.
Which I kind of feel like was probably the direction the show was initially planned on in the pilot.
Yeah.
But it does not go that way. Then, like you said, Dylan, da-da-da-da-da.
And then that happens, and then Alec and Marissa attend Wes's parole hearing, where at first Wes is talking about how much he's changed and everything, but then we see a shadow of a man walk into the courtroom. We don't ever see his face. Neither do Alec and Marissa.
So the doors to the courtroom have frosted glass windows.
Yeah.
And while Wes Benning is giving his statement about how he's a reformed person and
he would never do anything like this again, he never intentionally meant to, because in his original thing, and now he has claimed that the bombs went off unintentionally before they were supposed to. No one was ever supposed to be in the building when they went off.
Because the bombs were supposed to have a timer on them, but the timer didn't function.
Yes.
And while he's pleading his case, somebody opens one of those double doors. But stands behind it so they can see to the stand, but over half the room can't see them.
Yeah, and when Wes notices this, he immediately is like, I definitely murdered those people. I'm a horrible person.
If you let me out, I will
definitely do it again.
Blow up more churches.
Yep, I hate churches and I hate black people. I hate black churches.
And then that door closes and the guy who was behind the door walks off.
Alec and Marissa notice that and that's fucked up, so they go to follow, but they find no one.
And Wes Penning's parole is obviously
denied
because he just said he would commit more crimes.
Yep.
And that's the end of this episode.
Yeah. So after episode 1 of The Irrational, Josh, what are your thoughts?
It's fine. It's middle of the road good, 6.5, 7 out of 10 maybe. 6.5 feels more right. It's fine. I don't know. It's okay. It's not quite full on propaganda. Like I said in the beginning, it's closer to Bones in that way. So while it's still like glazing the FBI and the police, in some ways it's not actually glazing the police at all here in this episode, because the police are like, nah, he did it.
Yeah.
And Mercer's like, yeah, but you're stupid.
Yeah. You should actively do your jobs, not just be like, oh, nope, easy, close, let's go.
But I enjoyed enough to watch another episode. How about yourself?
I definitely enjoyed enough for another episode. From the first episode, the psychology we get here isn't bad. I would say what he does with his class doesn't count as an experiment, despite the fact that he calls it one. And it feels like a waste of his grad students, personally. Especially because at no other point, other than just doing like some paperwork to like back up his suppositions for the case, do they seem to be doing any actual grad work.
I mean, no, his experiment counts as an experiment. It would have...
Oh, wait, no. Yeah, this actual experiment does. I'm again thinking of the fucking robbery one, which they call an experiment, which is not an experiment.
No, that's about false eyewitnesses, and that's a much later episode.
Yeah.
You're spoiling the fact that we've already watched more than 2 episodes.
Oh no. Quick, to cover that fact, episode 2.
You're actively breaking kayfabe.
Episode 2, Dead Woman Walking.
But I want to say the episode title.
Fine, Josh. Episode 2, what's it called?
Dead Woman Walking.
And it starts with Alec playing with a Bunsen burner because he's like, ooh, fire, maybe I'll remember things. He's also actively trying to find the right floral scent to trigger his olfactory sense, because olfactory is one of the strongest indicators of memory, because he remembers there was some floral scent there that night. He just doesn't remember what it was. So he's hoping by finding the right scent, and with the combination of fire, he'll remember.
To be fair, I do love this little argument between him and his sister Kylie. She's like, hey, could you stop playing with fire? You're going to catch yourself on fire and burn yourself. And he's like, I've already burnt myself. What's the likelihood I do it again? Based on likelihood of getting burned as badly as I did and it happening again, it's basically 0. She's like, that's not how statistics work. He's like, I know, but I'm still going to play with a Bunsen burner.
Yeah.
He's like, the type of burns I sustain only happened to like X odds. It's not going to happen again. And she's like, not how statistics work.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, I mean, he probably has a lot of dead nerve endings. But also, the skin is going to be super sensitive to heat. So, I mean, like, pluses and minuses. So, after that little intro bit, he and Kylie start talking about the man from Wes's parole hearing. And he's like, yeah, the FBI's got nothing. But Wes got himself locked in solitary.
He's refusing to cooperate with the FBI, who are actively looking for the man who scared him into botching his parole hearing.
Yeah, but he did manage to remember something.
The FBI looking into it is important because they had initially ruled that Wes Benny was a lone bomber and acted alone.
Yes.
But this man causing him to botch his own parole hearing
implies that someone else is involved in some other manner.
Exactly.
But
which leads to the FBI reopening the case.
Yes. But Alec did manage to remember one thing from that night, and he's hoping Marissa will be able to hopefully track down some things. He remembered a logo from a van that was there that Wes got out of. So he's hoping to see if that can lead to anything. And as he's talking about how he's going to see if Marissa will help, Kylie's like, are you just using the fact that you almost died in a bombing to keep your ex-wife close to you?
And he's like, no, we just make good crime investigative partners. Not partners in general, just crime partner.
And then before Kylie can really respond to that, he's like, oop, I got a call. Gotta go. He's got someone at the office. So he catches a ride.
From Kylie. So he had to have time to talk to her.
Uh-huh. He catches her Kylie because he doesn't drive.
One of my favorite conceits of television is that no conversation ever happens in between leaving somewhere and arriving somewhere. It happens in movies too, where like we'll start having a conversation as we leave a building, and then we'll be picking up on that exact same conversation as we arrive where we were going.
Yeah.
Nothing happens in between the two locations.
Or if it ever does, it's someone's like, they're talking, they need to go somewhere, and the person's like, I'm explaining the exposition to you. I've started to explain the exposition. When we get there, I have just finished the last word of the exposition. That way we don't have to exposit everything to the audience again. But you didn't know anything, so we need to catch you up.
Yes, I love it.
Those are the two forms of transit.
In this case, it's, oh, look, I can't talk about this. I gotta get to my office. Can I get a ride? Because while we're riding together to my office, we will not have time to talk.
Yeah. So when he gets there, he finds CJ Wright, a very respectable journalist who says she needs help solving her own murder.
Now, we should get into CJ Wright before we actually dive into the further of her case. Within the world of Irrational, CJ Wright is
hard-hitting expose writer revealing corporate misdoings, government misdoings,
multiple awards,
Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist.
She's done deep exposés on corruption in governments, or stuff going on in foreign
Fortune
countries.
500, Fortune 500 companies, anything.
Yeah, okay. So
she needs help to solve her own murder because apparently she's been poisoned with a rare and deadly nerve agent. And yeah.
And apparently her and Alec have a history of not getting along.
But she's like, look, if I'm going to solve my own murder, I'm going to need the best, and you're the best. So Alec's like, okay.
And the first thing Alec is interested in is he's like, look, if you have been poisoned by this rare poison, it's not like necessarily a death sentence like it was when you first did an expose on assassins using this to kill political targets.
Because that is the fun irony of it. She has been poisoned with something she's talked about before.
Something that like wasn't well known to the public until she did an expose on it.
Yeah. And she's like, yeah, no, there's experimental treatments and I'm not going to be a guinea pig for that. So
it's not even she's not going to be a guinea pig. It's like the same type of like decision making as like when cancer patients have to be like,
Stage 4, and they're like, you could do chemo, and they're like, that doesn't sound worth it.
You could do chemo and live for an extra 3 months, 6 months. But if you do, you're gonna be vomiting, your hair's gonna be falling out, you're gonna feel like shit.
Your quality of life is gonna massively drop.
And she's like, I'd rather just die.
Yeah.
Which, fair?
She's like, I'm just gonna die, but first I want to find out who killed me. So they go through the list of suspects, which just means going through a bunch of different people she's wrote pieces about. And she's like, I think personally that it's probably about my upcoming piece about a Belarusian businessman with ties to the Russian mob.
Yeah. And she thinks this partially because she was working with an informant and had lunch with him.
Previous Tuesday. Yeah.
During the last week. Yeah. And she thinks that
Yuri
that matches the timeline for her being poisoned.
Yes. Yuri being the name of her informant.
But unfortunately, since that lunch meeting, Yuri has gone missing.
Mm-hmm.
He might be on ice.
They're like, we're not sure if he did it or if he's been killed.
Because he could be dead, but also because reference.
And she's like, personally, I don't think he did it, but I do think it's highly likely. I am just a casualty, and he was the
actual target. Yeah. So
she starts coughing really bad because she's been poisoned, and he's like, hey, should we tell anyone? And she's like, nope, the only person who might want to know is my daughter, but also she doesn't like me, doesn't want to talk to me, so I'm not going to worry about it.
She also says that the only person that should be in the know other than her and Alec is her writing partner, Gene, because she doesn't like write her articles alone. She works with another man named Gene.
Yeah, Gene is her photographer, but he does some editing and punch-up work from what I can understand. So she wants him to know, and she doesn't want to tell her daughter, who she's estranged from, because she also doesn't want to have to watch her daughter watch her die.
And Alec's like, maybe you should, like, give that choice to your daughter instead.
But before he can convince her, she passes the fuck out, so they take her to a hospital.
At the hospital, Alec is there with his ex-wife, who cautions him that the case is going to be too high profile, and every agency is involved. The CIA, the NSA, the FBI,
DHS, DOD,
the DOGE,
Space Force. And Alex is like, look, she came to me for help. I'm going to help. You're not going to be able to stop me from this. Which, I mean, technically wrong. She definitely can stop you. Also, from my understanding, you don't have an investigator's license, so, like, you can literally just be bounced so easy from this case.
Yeah, but
that doesn't happen.
Instead, they see Gene, and they update him about CJ's condition, ask him questions about the lunch meeting that CJ had.
And Gene's like, that's fucking horrible. Do you think I've been poisoned? That'd be fucking bad. Have I been poisoned?
Do you think they're going to try to poison me too? And so, in fear of his life, he asks for police protection.
Mm-hmm. And then he gives them a lead on Yuri. He's like, the guy loves to play chess. Like, I know he's played chess in, like, downtown parks where people play chess. Which, my fucking God, I wish I lived near a park where people played chess. I would play chess more.
You have the internet. You can just
That's not fun!
Anyways, Alec uses this tip, and then recruits his PhD students, Rizwan and Phoebe, into helping him trick Yuri into revealing his location. They do this by emailing Yuri, acting like they're from the chess website that Yuri loves to play on.
Mm-hmm. And they offer him a free gift of, like, a very nice board and everything.
Which they know he'll accept because he's accepted gifts from this website in the past.
Mm-hmm. So he does. He takes the bait, and they get his address, so they decide, well, he doesn't get it yet, but they're like, cool, now we just wait. And at this point, Phoebe decides to go ask CJ about why she won't let her daughter see her or no.
Phoebe asks Alec about it.
Yeah.
And Alec's like, doesn't matter. It's CJ's wishes. We have to respect them.
Yeah. We have to respect this person's autonomy and, like, their own space for healing and coping with their issues in their own way. But let me destroy the trust of this AA meeting.
Exactly. I'm glad you understand. So after getting Yuri's address, Alec heads over and asks Marissa to meet him there. Marissa is late, which means Alec gets curious and goes start looking around by himself.
Which, by the way, his address is at a marina.
It's a houseboat or just
baby.
A boat.
The classic, I am a fugitive and I think someone's trying to kill me. I shall hide on a houseboat because this place can leave with me.
So he hears a gunshot coming from Yuri's boats, from Yuri's boat, singular.
Yeah.
And so he decides to investigate, which, he should just wait for his FBI backup, but he doesn't.
And Yuri stumbles out, clutching at his stomach, and he's like, hey, you, Alec, you there, sir, you should have run.
And the shooter keeps shooting. So
Alec does not run. Instead, he takes cover and is now trying to talk down the shooter by being like, look, man, FBI's on its way. This is a bad situation, but I assume you're a professional. Like, obviously, you know the best way to handle this is
But what Alex is saying does not matter.
Yeah.
The shooter keeps shooting, so Alec instead runs and jumps off the pier into the water.
Yep.
So then Marissa arrives, and Alex is like, hey, I don't think that was an assassin on the boat.
Or if it was, it's not a very good one.
Because it was very badly done.
Yeah, bad shot, couldn't hit me. I'm just a behavioral science professor at Wilton University. They only gut shot Yuri, like, not great.
Yeah. And he's like, and so it's probably not the mob, and they probably weren't after Yuri strictly because it's Yuri. Because if it was the mob, they could hire better assassins.
And if they had been targeting Yuri, they would have gotten Yuri. But maybe Yuri saw something when CJ was poisoned.
So he believes that CJ was the primary target now. In the meantime, Phoebe and Rizwan track down Nicole.
Yep.
And against CJ's wishes, they tell Nicole that her mom is dying.
And she's not happy about it. She's like, it's really fucked up. I have to hear this from you and not my mother. But of course, I'm not going to hear it from her. She never wants to fucking talk to me. She doesn't want to talk to anyone. You know what? I'm not going to say her. I'll respect her wishes. I hope she fucking dies happy.
We also learn here that the rift between Nicole and CJ comes from CJ putting her career before her family.
Yeah. And then back with Alec, he's visiting CJ again. He's like, hey, what the fuck do you remember about that lunch?
And she's like, oh, well, there was a couple that got engaged. The proposal, there was a big proposal, and, that was the biggest thing I remember from my lunch.
So they pull up a video, because it's a proposal at a public place.
And so somebody recorded it.
And they're watching it. As they're watching it, Alec notices that at some point during this proposal, the teapot on her table got switched down, which is how he suspects she got poisoned.
The proposal, they determined, was a distraction to allow the assassin to switch the teapot. CJ is personally surprised that she didn't notice. She's like, how can I be an investigative reporter and all these awards and not notice my teapot gets switched?
So Alec's like, oh, it happens all the time. Shows her the gorilla video. You know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google psychology.
Count the basketballs.
Count the basketball video.
Yeah, you're supposed to count the basketballs.
Well, you're supposed to count how many times the players pass the basketball.
And so you're so busy focused on the basketball that you don't notice a giant man in a gorilla suit dance through the video.
Or a bear suit sometimes. Someone very honest. Normally a gorilla or a bear suit, though.
Yeah. And it actually works 90+% of the time.
Even if you know about it, if you're actively doing the thing you're supposed to be doing, which is tracking the basketball, you're not going to notice it.
Mm-hmm.
From here, Alec gets the FBI to help him find the couple, which they succeed in doing.
When the couple wasn't actually a couple, they are a couple, but they're also actors who were hired to stage a proposal.
And he's like, why did you take the job? They're like, do you know how hard it is to get an acting job in Washington, D.C.?
Which, fair. But before that, while Marissa and Alec work on identifying the client... No, actually after that, you're right. My bad. So they talked to the couple. The couple never met the person that hired them. They were paid anonymously. So Marissa and Alec had to then work on backtracking and trying to find out who the client was that hired the fake couple. So as they work... Alex suggests that maybe over the weekend, after they've finished CJ's case, that they work on the Wes Banning case.
And Marissa's like, I don't know if that's a good idea. Look, this divorce has been hard for me, like it has been for you, and maybe we should take a little bit of space as we work on things, So Alex's like, oh, okay.
And as they investigate, they find a new possible suspect, which is a marketing person for a cigarette company. Mm-hmm. Who are advertising to kids. Yeah,
he advertised nicotine to kids. And then when she published the article, the guy got fired. He was VP at the time, got fired, and he's upset about it.
I bet. He was a VP, now he's a marketing guy.
Yeah.
And they think that there's a connection there potentially because the poison used on CJ can also be found on tobacco leaves.
Mm-hmm. Alex sets up a fake startup to get the guy to interview.
Because he's trying to get the guy to boast about his previous accomplishments. And
which the guy does, especially when Alex honestly, it sucks that you got kicked out. Yeah, it's not the best, but you did successfully market cigarettes to kids. It's a crazy market that you reached. Not the best way to do it, but respect to you for being able to do it. The hustle on that.
Yeah, and Brandon's yeah, I was angry at her, but I'm not angry at her anymore. In fact, her getting me fired was one of the best things that could have happened to me.
Yeah.
Now I have this reputation of being the best marketing guy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but during this conversation, he's like, but it is super fucking annoying. I got these other people on my side with some bribes. I tried to get her, but she wouldn't accept it. And Alex that's crazy. You tried to bribe one of the most renowned and respectable journalists. He's like, yeah, I almost succeeded. I got her partner, but she just wouldn't cave.
I managed to bribe her partner, Gene. And then Alec has one of his other brain blasts because, again, you put it, he just has Jimmy Neutron brain blasts. And he's like, oh, fuck. It was right in front of us this entire time. Gene is the one that poisoned CJ.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, you can't just be Gene poisoned CJ.
Brain blast told me it was him.
So instead, they have to find proof.
Mm-hmm. But while that's happening, Nicole goes to visit her mom, and they argue.
Well, first Nicole goes to visit Phoebe.
Yeah.
And Phoebe admits that she had an estranged relationship with her mother when she died, and she doesn't want Nicole to have to go through that. So Nicole decides that she doesn't want to live with the same regrets Phoebe has, and so goes to see her mother to set things straight. Yep. In the meantime,
Alec goes to visit Jean and is like, hey, CJ's really taking on the turn for the worst.
She's probably going to die tonight.
Yeah. But hey, silver lining, I guess, for you, maybe you'll get more of the respect you deserve and everything. And Jean's like, yeah, no, it's all really CJ, she's the greatest like, about this.
No, but we know you're the real genius. And he's like, actually, I don't want to brag, but I kind of am.
Yeah. And then Alec's like, what's really like a pity? Like the mastermind who's managed to do this will never be able to claim credit. Like they took down this respectable, feared journalist and like no one's gonna know. And it was like, it's a horrible thing, but it was a brilliant plan. Like
near perfect murder.
I haven't been able to figure it out. The FBI haven't been able to figure it out. The police haven't been able to figure it out. Like it was a genius plan. Like, but no one's gonna know.
So Jean, who has been living in the shadow of CJ's entire life and has never been able to brag about the stuff he does because she takes the credit for it instead, is motivated by Alec, and he decides to go brag to CJ because she's about to die, so it doesn't matter if she knows that he killed her.
So he goes there, she's in a coma, and he's just ranting about how, like, it's all her fault, he deserves so much more, and, like, sure, she got on to him about taking the brag because she found out about the Brandon thing, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. It's like, and he's basically like, you didn't credit me enough, you didn't let me earn a reputation of my own for anything, and you couldn't even let me make at least a little bit of money on the side to account for that.
And he's like, but the thing is, I managed to do something that you couldn't do. I managed to do the perfect murder, and now not even you can solve it.
And then Coma CJ wakes up and shows him a recording that she has of this entire thing, and he's like, fuck.
And then the FBI busts in.
Yeah, he goes to snatch it, but Marissa comes in gun blazing.
Not really gun blazing.
No, because she's not a fucking cop. She's an FBI agent. And she's just like, you're under arrest. Instead of being like, 5 to the fucking chest, and then 1 to the head when you're already down.
And Nicole then has a scene with her mom where they reconcile, and Nicole convinces her mother to get the experimental treatment, which magically works out for the best.
Yeah, we time skip and she's doing so much better.
And then Alec checks in with Phoebe to comfort her. Well, before the time skip, Alec checks in with Phoebe, and he's like, look, you can't keep living in the what ifs. You can't, like, blame yourself for not being reconciling with your mom. You just need to remember the good times that you had. And then he uses CJ's story to teach a lecture in his class on how most killers are narcissists.
And it's really easy to catch them that way because of it.
And that's the end of this episode.
Yeah.
Justice, after episode 2, what do you think of the show?
I wouldn't watch more. I would never watch more of this show.
Episode 2 is actually distinctly worse than episode 1.
Yeah.
Episode 2 is like a little too over the top, which is weird because the show does get more over the top. You've already ruined it, but we've watched more of this.
Watch more.
It's got 2 seasons now. We're halfway through season 2.
Yeah.
Show's very good.
Yeah, it's quite enjoyable.
Like, solid.
I think we have an episode to watch this week. We haven't watched it.
No, we haven't. Yeah, it just came out. You're right. It's a solid 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
And while, like, there is a bit of propaganda there, most of the time the cops are getting dunked on because they're not as good as this random random behavioral psychologist.
Yeah.
Like,
if you're ever unsure about what to call them, just call them a behavioral scientist.
Fair enough.
And like, the psychology is good for the most part. It's all kind of watered down because in the premise of the show, he's explaining to people who don't understand psychology.
He's explaining it to you stupid people.
Yeah.
And me stupid people.
But it still uses accurate psychology terms, expresses it fairly appropriately most of the time. I would say my biggest issue is sometimes in that it feels like someone on the writing staff has just Googled what their thing they're trying to use is and kind of just been like, let's rewrite this wiki explanation. And then all the experiments that he runs is always like, what's the most popular experiment of this psychological phenomenon?
Do this variation of an experiment, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But
it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's just simplified, which is fine for television.
I think the show is roughly the equivalent to, like, a high school freshman, 1 semester psychology class.
I mean, I would say it gets into more fringe psychological phenomenon to where it's at points almost a college level Psych 101 course.
He's like...
In what it's talking about, you just don't get into some more specifics like medications and things that can affect...
It doesn't touch on, like, the base elements of psychology, but, like, nothing it talks about is that, like, you'll recognize stuff in the show just from, like, being alive.
Yeah, you may not know the actual term, but you'll be like, oh, I'm aware of that, or like, oh, I've heard about that, or like, it's another of those where you're like, oh, that, I understand that is a thing, and I can definitely, like, think of instances in my life where that's definitely occurred. Mm-hmm.
But the really cool thing about psychology is even when you understand that you're susceptible to these fallacies and these, like, arguments, you don't become resistant to them.
Yeah, I do. I'm immune to the Dunning-Kruger effect.
In fact, you actually become weaker to them. Understanding understanding how psychology works only makes you weaker to psychological tricks. It's fucking hilarious.
To a degree. It's basically if you're
like,
overconfident in your understanding of it,
yeah,
because of the Dunning-Kruger effect, the more overconfident you are in something, basically. But then if you try to argue with someone that, hey, you don't know as much as you think you do, you can, of course, trigger a backfire effect, in which case they believe they will submit themselves into believing that they know even more, and it's a vicious, vicious feedback.
But anyways, that's The Irrational. That's episode 100 of Copilots Review. And if you want to get in contact with us, there are numerous ways you can do that. First of all, you can hit us up
by emailing us at copilotsreview@gmail.com.
On Blue Sky, at Copilots Review.
Or you can find a link to both of those, as well as our Patreon, our Discord, and our YouTube by going to copilotsreview.simplecast.com, where we have links.
Well, that's all for this flight.
Thanks for flying, and please fly again soon.